It's 6 o'clock and I call this meeting to order. Welcome to tonight's regular board meeting. If we can please stand for the pledge and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Dr. AC, do we have anybody on open forum?
Good evening, Dr. Valdez. Good evening, board members. Yes, we have one community member who signed up to speak about Section 1, Item 1. Mr. Daniel Nunez, before I allow him to talk, I'm going to read the statement about the public comment. The next item on the agenda is public comment. The public comment portion of our meeting is available to members of the public who wish to address an agenda item to be considered by the board on tonight's agenda. Anyone who wants to speak during public comments must sign in prior to the start of the meeting and list the agenda item they want to discuss. Each public comment speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board. The public comment portion of the meeting will allow all speakers who have signed up before the start of the meeting to address the board at this time regarding an item on tonight's agenda. I ask that you not discuss students who are not your own child. Policy DGBA, FNG, and GF are available for specific complaints regarding employee, parents, and community member complaints, respectively. Thank you. Our first speaker is Mr. Daniel Nunez.
He's barely coming into the meeting right now. He's barely joining the meeting.
Open forum. Mr. Nunez? Mr. Daniel Nunez?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, sir. You have the floor. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that. Sorry about that. Okay. The item I wanted to address is Section A, item number 9, for the payment to Wi-Fi R Us. Again, I know I've previously joined some of your board meetings regarding the towers. I know that this is a company that y'all are here wanting to discuss regarding compensation for their installations. The issue is not so much the installations. The issue is it is now weeks away from the school district year ending. And I have yet to have any of my 4 children enrolled in the district connect to any of these Wi-Fi towers. That is very concerning and alarming to me, because throughout the whole school year, when our children were required to stay home due to COVID, I've been paying out of my pocket an estimated about $105 to Spectrum. And I've been a customer for quite some years, usually for cable, not for this high-speed Wi-Fi that I'm now paying for, or been paying for. Now that it's near the end of the school year, I have seen my kids' grades drop dramatically. Also, I was addressed the first semester by one of your truancy officers due to attendance. Now, Spectrum, as a customer, I can honestly say that not even their Wi-Fi connection is the greatest. There's been issues with them. We've had hurricanes, we've had storms that have affected it. So in saying so, I know that not everybody is going to be at 100%. That I totally understand and agree. Not too long ago, the company Wi-Fi R Us reached out to me and they recommended installing a 40+ foot antenna on my roof. Now, I am an insurance carrier, and I would have had to contact my insurance company to see how that would plan out. Now, I did talk to an agent on the side, and they said that they would have to look into it because now we're protruding the roof with, you know, bolts or whatever it is that they need to use to affix these antennas that I was told to do. And I told them that I wouldn't be able to do that. That would be something that would probably affect my insurance. And after I did a bit of research, yes, it will affect my insurance premiums, because I am protruding now into the roof of my home.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make you all aware of that. I know I didn't mention it before, but I haven't been in a meeting since Wi-Fi R Us reached out to me as one of the people on the list that are yet not connecting to the towers. I did mention before, I am within well range of 3 campuses, AP Solis.
Mr. Nunez,
Yes.
sorry to cut you off, sir, because remember we had 3 minutes, right? And we're already at 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So thank you for your comments, sir. Thank you. Okay, thank you. And that's concludes our open forum, Dr. Valdez.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and go on to Superintendent's Report, number 1, District Highlights, Dr. Az.
Again, thank you, Dr. Valdez. There are a lot going on in our district, and we're always highlighting all the great things that's happening despite all the pandemic and despite everything. I want to share with you a quick video that highlights some of the great things that are happening. Obviously, a lot of great things that happen every campus, but one particular campus who started or doing different clubs for our students to keep them engaged and keep them coming to school every day and also excelling academically. So I just want to share with you this quick video. So let me just try to pull it here. Wait. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to need to miss. There we go. Now I can share. All right.
We are very excited to offer many clubs, starting with chess. We have poetry, we have Boys and Girls Club, gardening for our upper and lower grades. We have soccer, music, art, and dance. There's no criteria that students must meet. We invite all our students to participate as long as they are committed to the core beliefs of our clubs.
This, guys, it's the queen. This is the boss lady. You guys are better than computer. I got you.
It was very important to me and our teachers to implement programs that would ensure a very strong opportunity for them to stay in school with a solid plan of what career paths they wanted to take when they got to middle school and high school.
Before I joined the art class, I would draw a lot and I would want to paint and I would do a lot of projects with my mom and my sisters. And so participating helped me get better at drawing and better at painting.
I like art really because it's really all around us, but sometimes you get to use the paintbrush and do it yourself. Instead of seeing it, you can do it yourself and see it, so that's really fun for me.
I've always wanted to play guitar since I was little, and since I was little, all of my favorite musicians always played guitar. So that's why I've always wanted to play.
What I love being in the gardening club is because we help the community and we help plants, vegetables, and fruits.
What I'm enjoying about it is that yet the strumming, it's kind of easy, and also yet it's kind of hard, but that's what I like about it. I always like to take challenges.
I'm happy that they're doing this because I've never been to a school that has done activities after school or stay after school doing crafts and other stuff.
I would really thank them because when we're at home after school, some of us get really bored of either watching the TV or playing outside by ourselves or with siblings. So we just get to stay here with our friends and do all the stuff that they have for us.
Thank you. So we want to highlight again our Guzman and our staff, teachers and leaders in there, because clubs are so important. Because again, like our students just described them, right? They get to do stuff that they enjoy, that keeps them engaged, and that will help them obviously succeed academically. So obviously, it's great to have so many clubs in every campus, and our students again being engaged and doing something really positive. So that's also, I want to share with you some good news. I know thanks to you, we approved the work at our stadium, right? So we are starting already remove the old turf. We also today, we just started removal of the scoreboard. As you know, we doing those two things as well as the track. So the work is already started last week. And it's my pleasure to share with you some of the drawing or rendering that the architects already produced. We are working on schedule. I know we had some issues, I guess, with, and Coach Hilal is with me about the color. We want to have the maroon, the Donna maroon, not the A&M maroon per se. So we had to make sure that our maroon is present on the turf. And so we had to actually ask for a special order. And again, Coach Liao, I know is here, so he can share with you, but we're sure that we're going to be on time to finish before the season begins, because we told them it's so important. Our first game, Donna High School versus Donna North, we want to make sure that that's our openings game, but also ceremony, if you will, when we're going to have our community there. The same time we are introducing them to the new scoreboard, the new turf, and new track. So I don't know, Coach Liali, if you want to add anything. I'm going to share my screen, sir, so I can share.
Yes, we had a meeting today. We did with the architects. We did meet with Field Turf. We also had we had a group a discussion with also the Dictronics, which is doing the scoreboard. So yes, so the way it works is I learned more about turf. I didn't know so much about turf, but basically the turf is generated in Germany. After Germany, they ship it to Georgia, and Georgia is where they start cutting it all up so you can get the final design that's been brought over here. So we were having a hard time because the maroon is not really, the one they had is not really a maroon that we use. If you can see behind Dr. Aziz, it's the maroon. It's more of a Texas A&M Rydell type. So it has to be a custom color that has to be generated. So we send them one of our helmets, and they're going to match the helmet. We had to send it to Georgia via Federal Express, and we're supposed to get the match by next week so they can start cutting up and design on that. So this is the way it's tentatively going to look. You're going to get a new design in the sense that it's going to be a two-tone green. So it's more something like LSU and some of the newer colleges are using the SEC. You're going to have a dark green with a lighter green embedded. So every 5 yards will be a different shade of green. Of course, you're going to have the black instead of maroon for Donna North. I know they cater a lot to the black now, so they're giving some identity. You'll have the Chiefs, but you'll also have the logos now at both end zones. And of course, you will have the opposite logos on the other side. And they will have the both Redskin logos going on facing each other. This is basically the mock-up. There's going to be some differences they're going to have to do. You're going to have the district emblem will be in the middle. I think the biggest thing though, you're going to see a difference. It's a different, not too many fields are going to be like this. So I thought it would give it a neat look where you can have now two different shades of green. So it's going to be something that looks a little bit different, not like what we had the previous years before. You know, a lot of time and effort has gone to this. I learned a lot about this. Right now, if you look at, you come see our stadium, it's a bunch of bedrock. It's just rocks. This turf lies on top of rocks. So, I mean, right now they've taken everything off. They've scraped the whole track. We're just down to the bare asphalt. We'll be starting to put new asphalt probably at the end of May. It'll take 28 days to cure, and then we'll start putting on the track. The last thing we'll do when the turf arrives back from Germany, we'll put the turf on. You're looking at probably the last week of August for the whole thing to be finally done. So be ready for the first game between Donna High and Donna North, hopefully the last week of August.
Yeah.
Question, was there a committee that selected the imprint that goes in the center of the stadium? Because the D or the Donna has been there for 30, 40 years. Was it just based off what you guys decided to put that district emblem? Or was
I can barely hear. If I'm hearing right. Those were the schematics that we came up with the architects and Field Turf. It's not set in stone. I mean, if we wanted to, we goes back for the final layout. The final layout, we're setting this back. The final layout would come back in about 2 weeks, and that's when we have to make sure that there's any changes going to be put on there. Of course, you know, the discretion is always going to be for you all in case there's going to be any differences. But, you know, the district logo was designed to go in the middle because basically that's the logo that we have right now. But that is why they've gone with it.
And if I can add, that logo, we've been using it for the past couple of years. We actually did a complete ceremony, and we used this logo again for the last 2 years. So that's all our vehicles now. The ones who, you know, everywhere. That is our Donna ISD logo that again we've been using for the past couple of years. So that's why we put that in the middle, Mr. De Los Rios. That's why. But again, I want to thank Coach Leal. I know he's been very involved and very busy with this work. I can tell you right now, and Coach Leal is probably humble to say it, but we are getting the same type of turf that University of Texas as in Austin are getting in their stadium. And he didn't mention anything. It's the same quality turf. And right, Coach Leal? I mean, because this is...
Yes, Field Turf has just been granted. University of Texas will be getting the same exact turf. The person that took off the turf, his name is Scott Shaw. He left here to go to UT. They're getting a brand new turf. Of course, they're just getting brand new turf because they got a new coach and the new coach wants new turf. So it's a little bit easier for them, but they're getting the same turf. It's called slip film type of turf. It's the same type of material. So they'll be getting it right after us, as a matter of fact. And they're going to go to a custom color. They're going to a new burnt orange, kind of, sort of an older burnt orange, they said. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I appreciate everything that, you know, the board has done as far as getting us this. It is a high quality turf, and our kids are really going to get to play on a high quality field. It's a state of the art field they're going to have.
Mr. Valdez, I'd like to say a couple of words. It's not in the agenda, but it was brought up as one of the highlights. Coach Lee, a tremendous job that you're doing with the project out there. And obviously you went through it the first time around from the very bottom up as well. I just want to go on record as well that with regard to that logo that was alluded to a while ago, I think we need to bring back later and make it into a motion or something as a board, because that is a different significance in that field in terms of what's going to go in the middle. And so, yes, that particular logo that was alluded to earlier has been around for 2 years. The district has been around since 1922, and that D has been there since 1922. So just keep us posted when it's time for the final due date to have those particular logos.
We will get the final, they call the final rendering that the architect will need to know. He will probably be coming on, he will probably need to have I don't know if it has to go to board or not, but that will be in about 2 weeks. Once I get that, I give it to the superintendent and Dr. Zayas again, and then we will need a final for sure, because he cannot go back. Once we get to the final, they will not go back. They're gonna go to start cutting the material. So at the end of the day, like I said, I'll let you all post it. I'll let Dr. Zayas know when that will come in. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Those are concludes my highlights, Dr. Valdez.
Thank you, Dr. Xia. Moving on to item number 2, the May LSG monitoring report, goal 3, GPM 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and superintendent evaluation of goal 3 and next steps. Superintendent constraint 3, CPM 3.1.
All right. So again, Dr. Valdez, thank you for allowing me to present today on the May LSG monitoring report. And let me just present here real quick. And like you said, Dr. Valdez, we'll be talking about board goal 3 and superintendent constraint number 3 for today board meeting. And just a reminder, we will be discussing the percentage of graduate demonstrating college career military readiness will increase from 62.6% to 77 by year 2025, otherwise known as CCMR. The percentage of students in state STAR test for our GPM 3.1, we're looking at the STAR assessment, and we're looking at the percentage of students who actually achieve in meet grade level standard will increase from 37 to 49% by 2025. GPM 3.2, the percentage of graduates demonstrating college readiness will increase from 36 to 47% by year 2025. And GPM 3.3, the percentage of graduates demonstrating career or military readiness will increase from 45 to 60% by year 2025. Just again, a reminder how we determine CCMR. Obviously, college readiness, we look at TSI testing, if they are meeting those requirements through TSI, are they earning dual credits? Are they earning through the AP and IB exams? Are the students are earning an associate degree, complete an on-ramp dual enrollment course with University of Texas in Austin. As far as career readiness, we're looking at industry-based certification, students who graduate with a complete IEP and workforce readiness for our special needs students, graduate under an advanced degree plan as a special education student. As far as military readiness, it's enlistment in armed forces. Looking at the overall goal, again, we are trying to increase that number from 62.6% to 77 by 2025. And you can see that our goal for this year is 63%. And then underneath, you can see our goal for HGPM. As far as like where we at, as far as like different student groups, you can say that we can see that we have our Hispanic, we want them to be at 63%, our economically disadvantaged students at 61%, our EL students at 44%, and our special needs students at 76%. Looking at where we at, and you can look at the graph and you can see that starting quartile 1, we were at 39%, quartile 2, we were at 40%, and then quartile 3, we were at 45% overall. And also you can look at every student group. For our goal again is 63% overall, 63 for our Hispanic students. And so we can see that we made some progress, but we are further from achieving our goal of 63%. Looking at every GPM at 3.1, it's looking at the STAR assessed. And again, the goal is to be at 37%. You can see that we are at 21% for quartile 3 for all students. Our goal is to be at 37%. Hispanic is 20, and our goal is 37. EcoDesk is 21, but the goal is 36. EL at 13, and our goal is 30. Special needs at 8%, and we're supposed to be at, or our goal, I'm sorry, is at 24%. GPM 3.2, looking at college readiness, obviously we want that number to increase. And you can see that our students as of now, they are at 33%. The goal was at 36%. Hispanic 33, the goal is 36. EcoDisc 30, and the goal is 34. EL at 19, and the goal is 15. And our special need is 6, and obviously they're meeting the goal of 6%. And I just want to let you know that also we have obviously the data we can open, and we can see like for every one of our high schools where we stand. This is, for example, the number of students they are where they at. For Donna High School, for example, we have 195 students who already met that CCMR goal, or our CSM already, whereas we have 251 at Donna North, and we have 53.18% of our students met it. 3D, we only have 9 out of 78, and overall, that's how we end up with that number. So I just want you to know we have that data also. We track it for every student. Our counselors and our staff really do a good job tracking how our students are doing. The last GPM is looking at career or military readiness, and we want that to increase from 45 to 60%. And we are at the goal for quartile 3. I'm sorry, not the goal, but where we at is at 24%, and the goal is to be at 45%. I just want to emphasize a few things. You know, these are, we're strictly looking at our senior students, and many of them are still, as a matter of fact, there are some AP courses, some AP tests are happening as we speak. So some of them are still finishing up their dual credit courses on RAMP. So there's a lot of work, some CTE certification, they are still engaged. As you know, our last day of school this year is June 17. So we still have about 5 more weeks, or 4.5 weeks to be exact, before we can close out this school year. So many of our students are still engaged in finishing up some of this, as I said, college courses, taking AP tests. Some of them are working on getting their finalized or finishing up their CTE certification, industry certification. So we expect this number to increase, obviously, as the students are finishing up the school year. So just for comparison, last year, because of COVID-19, we did not do a quartile 3 2020. Remember, we had to put our LSG monitoring report on hold last year because remember, March and beyond, for a few months, we did not have it. So we couldn't really give you a comparison to last year. Next steps, and some of them I just mentioned, is we still have to ensure again that our students are finishing up their CTE courses. Some of them we're working from home virtually. We're trying to get them back as soon as possible. We're trying to bring as many seniors as we can to return on campus, because we want to make sure that they're completing anything that is pending so they can meet that CCMR and, more importantly, graduate, right? We also starting to be tracking and proactively monitoring from the freshman year. So we want to make sure that our freshmen students and beyond are on track to meet that CCMR requirements. We don't want to wait until they become seniors before we start tracking them. So our counselors and our staff and teachers are tracking them starting elementary. So we're trying to be more proactive with that. We also have some campus goal setting and monitoring by campus and students. Our counselors and staff are working very hard to ensure again that they're meeting those goals set for them for each campus. We also have self-paced PD or remote learning best practices. We have those for our teachers and staff in case they have any need to learn and do some professional development. And we're going to do analysis of ACT results and portal by students. Where we get the data from, obviously we get it. We have a tracking sheet, a Google sheet. That's how, again, our staff and tracking all this data and ensuring again that our students are meeting those CCMR requirements. Again, that's how we are tracking and ensure and getting this data from. We're also looking at Euphoria. We're looking at TA and term assessment. We're looking at inventory report from campuses, and and so that's pretty much how we are gathering all this this information to present to you today. I want to just highlight some of the good things as you probably pay attention to those data, that, for example, our EL students, when it comes to our special needs students, when it comes to achieving their goal for college readiness in quartile 3. So they met for special needs students, and then for our English learners, they actually exceeded the goal. So congrats to those students and their teachers and leaders for making that happen. Next, I have constraint 3, which is college credit hours. The superintendent should not allow the percentage of students who are earned college credit for at least 3 hours in ELA or mathematics, or 9 hours in any subject to decline. The percentage of students who are earned college credit for at least 3 hours in ELA or mathematics hours in the subject to fall below 27%. Currently, there are 303 out of 1,014 students, or 30% of our 2021 class has earned their CCMR credit through college hours. And again, we have the data to share with you. This is again how we track everything from different campuses and different student groups. So, and we can take you, obviously one by one. But again, a lot of it is about tracking. Again, our teachers and our staff are doing a phenomenal job just making sure that staying on top of our students and making sure again that they're meeting those CCMR requirements. And that's it, Dr. Valdez and board members. That would conclude my presentation as far as LSG monitoring report.
Donna North High School is doing really well in
Yes.
comparison. I was like, wow, there's a huge difference between the two high schools. So, questions?
I've got a couple of questions, discussions. On that report you mentioned here toward the end, specifically with the seniors.
Yeah, I cannot hear you, sir.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me? I don't want to be screaming. With regard to the information you gave us on the seniors for both campuses and obviously 3D and the tracking, where are we as it pertains to the seniors? I know that we discussed that briefly the other day.
Yeah.
What is being done? Because obviously the fact that most of them are still virtual learning and as far as the pass-fail rate,
Yes.
I know that we had discussed what is being done and how much emphasis is being done to make
Yes.
home visits, et cetera, because, you mentioned June 17th is the last day of school. So
Yes.
we're about roughly four weeks away from the actual graduation deadline, for lack of better words. And right now, the testing going on everywhere. Obviously, as you mentioned, AP testing, STAR testing, EOCs in
Yes.
certain areas. So I don't believe there's much instruction going on right now because of the testing. So what is it that parents and staff members at the campuses are doing to really emphasize that we want to get them to
Yeah.
go to? I know that people are mentioning a fast pass. Well, I may know what a fast pass is, but is it getting down to everybody?
Yeah.
Both schools being consistent as it comes to what they're offering. That's one question. The follow-up question is, when you mentioned tracking, which all this data is always very good, but obviously, it's just a report. The meat and potatoes is going to be, you mentioned ninth grade, but I understand we have students in the 4 middle schools who are taking courses beginning 7th grade for high school credit and also 8th grade for high school credit. So I believe that's a couple of years now that's happening.
Yes.
Are they being tracked as well too? And what is the goal that we have? I'd like to see a report on that the next time around to include them under, because 2 years now, those kids will probably be in 9th or 10th grade, maybe sophomores. And how are they doing? And so at the end of the day, as it pertains to CCMR, obviously these kids should already theoretically have close to getting associates after the sophomore year, junior year, because if they're advancing that much.
Yes.
So those are the two questions I have. I mean, I don't need specific details other than the two high school seniors. We really need to be proactive, more so
Yes.
than ever before.
Yes. Yes, sir. And I think we had that discussion like a couple of weeks ago about it. And I don't know, you remember, we talked about, we were supposed to have a workshop about all the data, and then it didn't happen. And we submit like a whole like presentation, right? And I think we talked about, if you want, we can have that workshop. We can go over that and explain to you and have the principal even talk to you about the different things they're doing. I'd be more than happy to do that. I know Dr. Aceves and is on the call, and I'm sure she may want to add a few things because she's been working very closely with our high school principals. But that's a priority, sir, because we want our seniors to graduate. I agree totally with you. We don't want them to stay behind. We want to make sure again that they're moving on, whether hopefully they're all going to college, but if they decide to do other things, that's fine. But we want them to graduate from high school. So I don't know, Dr. Aceves, if you want to for a minute or so talk a little bit, and then again, if you want to have that workshop, so I'll be more than happy to have it.
I think the most important thing here, trustees, to be clear, is that, you mentioned a while ago, you alluded to that last year you couldn't have a comparison because in March we shut it down, which is true, March to May. Well, let's not downplay it. This year, our seniors and any other student for that matter, but most importantly, the seniors have not officially stepped ground in any building for instruction like a normal year. So this particular class, the 2021, is really in the history books. And that's why I want to emphasize more so than ever that the both campuses, administration, counselors, department heads and everybody be on the same page, because can you imagine that it's tough when students are there every year in any school district when it comes to seniors. Now, when they have been virtual, and some of them, let's face it, have not been lining on. You've seen the attendance reports. I see those attendance reports. Sometimes they're 90, sometimes 88s and so forth. But at the end of the day, when it comes to graduation, we want to be ready that we've done everything possible. We've turned every single stone. We didn't leave any stone unturned for the sake of our seniors. And I just want to be sure that we're clear on that, because we don't have any campus that's full-fledged 100% in person. And those students that are there really are there, and they go into a building and they get instruction virtual. So at the end of the day, it's the same thing as being home. So yes, and both principals, or three for that matter, because of 3D, it's really, really important that we get their input, because we may hear something from central office, but then what's really happening in the ground? The boots in the ground is going to be your principal, your counselors, and your teachers, department heads for that matter. Go ahead.
Let me interject, Mr. Castillo. Thank you. Great question. And I meet with the principals daily. And the great thing about it is both campuses are instituting a Fast Pass, Achieve Pass, and that started in January to address all failures, but more specifically our seniors. And actually page 19 of the board workshop that should have happened in April actually addresses the information that we had as of March, to include how many seniors are on track to graduate, and the number of IGCs we currently have slated to happen. The good news is, as of the 6 weeks, both campus principals actually welcomed all their seniors who wanted to come in person back to the campus. And it's not going to be in front of a computer like we are now, but they're actually starting to transition, along with even having lunch in the cafeteria. So we're trying to give them at least the last 6 weeks of some type of normalcy for them to enjoy their senior year. You know, part of this.
Can you repeat that again? Did I hear you say both high schools?
Yes.
Have agreed to bring in, and they're going to go to full transition, 7-8 classes, the block schedule?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Can we get an update via Mr. Assis, because that's good news. If both of them are doing it as well as 3D, then that's good. And the word will get around and get out to the others, that they get on the bus and go over. Because you just cannot ever compare eyeball to eyeball instruction versus
And what we're finding out is word of mouth. Kids are excited about having lunch, so their friends are coming on board. At this time, I believe we're at about half of the senior class at each campus, 200 to 200 versus the 463, 483. So we're looking forward to those numbers increasing.
The only thing I want to add is I know this has been a very challenging year, and it has been very difficult based on, you know, teachers and principals and what have you, to provide some type of normal instruction as it's been in the past. I know teachers that are directly in the classroom are currently facing many challenges that we're not fully aware of. And I think it's very difficult. I think because of that reason, we will probably see a lot of conflicting data. I feel that. I know, first of all, I want to thank all the principals and the teachers, because I know it has been a very unique year, and I know they have worked very hard, and no one understands everything that they are going through except them, because they're directly in the classroom. They're the ones who are facing the challenges of the kids maybe that are unable to log in, or maybe some students that, you know, had to go do something else. There's a lot of challenges. So my main concern right now is just trying to support our teachers, because I think that's what they need. They need the support right now to try to bring some type of normalcy back to our school district. But I want to thank all of you for doing a phenomenal job during these times. It is greatly appreciated, and I'm hoping that in the fall, we'll be able to go back into our normal, be able to gauge the gaps that are currently there, and be able to put in full action plan, very well developed, that will help us target all those gaps that we will probably experience, because this isn't going to be new to Donna. It's throughout the entire state of Texas, the entire country. We're going to see the gaps, but as long as we're able to identify them and move forward with action plans, I think we'll be good. But right now, I think what our teachers need this year is an enormous amount of support.
And I echo you, Dr. Valdez, and thank you for your kind words. It's actually agree 100%. Our teachers and our staff has been phenomenal. When many of our surrounding school district had like a really small number of students, Our teachers were calling their students and bringing them in face to face. They were very courageous. Even this is even before even having vaccine or them getting vaccinated. So I mean, I want to commend our teachers and our staff and our leaders. I know we had bigger numbers in our elementary campuses than our secondary, but now we, like Dr. Valdez was, Dr. Aceves was saying, is that we have even more students coming out of the high school, and we are targeting. If anything, we want to make sure our seniors. So, like Mr. Castillo was saying, we want them to graduate and we want them to finish strong.
Right.
So again, thank you to our board members for your support, for allowing us to do the best we can with our students.
Any other questions? So, Mr. Castillo, do we accept or you accept or reject the report?
Accept.
Colonel? David? Mr. Valdez? Ms. Watts? Mr. Reyna? I also accept. Moving on to item number 3, discussion and possible action to nominate Colonel Roberto Perez for the Texas Association of School Boards Region 1, Position A seat. Colonel? You want to just talk a little bit about it? I think he
Tell us
was,
a little bit. Tell us a little bit.
this invitation, I think, was sent to everybody, but I think he's the only one that submitted a nomination, I guess, should I say. But it was available to everybody. Colonel?
Yeah, let me just talk a little bit about the nomination, what it does. It really represents our district. So I'll be representing our district within Region 1. So anything that we want to pursue in the future as to our needs for our district, and not only our district, but for the region itself, I'll be able to do that. So I've obviously the gentleman that's on there, I don't think has done a bad job. It's just that I want to be able to pursue that and see it from that level where I can help and assist and continue to contribute to our efforts.
Any questions? Do I have a motion? Okay, Mrs. Watt, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Reyna. Mr. Castillo?
Favor.
Mr. Colonel? You can vote for yourself. Mr. De Los Rios? You voted against? Who am I missing? Mr. Valdez? You voted already, right? No? Yeah. Okay.
No, that's
You
Mr.
vote?
Reyna.
Yeah, he's second.
This is just to nominate him because I thought there were other people also.
Yeah, to nominate.
Right.
It's just to nominate.
There's other ones that.
That's correct. And I think Region 1 does the final selection,
Yes,
not us.
they do. They probably will
Yes.
send ballots eventually. That's
Correct.
usually.
And they
Yes.
vote.
Favor.
Favor? Okay, Mrs. And Mrs. Watts' motion. I also vote in favor. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 4, recognition of Federico Rios Jr. And Mr. Castillo, I think you placed that one on the agenda, so I'll let you take that one.
I did. Thank you, Ms. Willis, fellow board members and trustees. The reason why we wanted to give some publicity to this young man, his name's Federico Rios, Fred Rios. He's an alumni from Donna ISD, Donna High School, former student athlete, and resides in the district. And he is a member of TSDA as well too. And again, it's just any organization, but he particularly belongs to this one right now. With regard to him receiving this particular award, I think it's really important because in terms of the ESP, that's an education support professionals. So as I've always said, that without the campuses in our case, and without the students and the staff, we as the board, we as central office, we as other departments would cease to exist. And so this gentleman here is a member of our transportation department, and he has gone on and beyond with regard to his job and duties, not only in his job, but also in his in-betweens. I know that he will also be representing Region 1 at the national level. But without further ado, I also would like to have Ms. Linda Estrada, who is a member of TSDA, an officer for that matter, say a few words about that, because I think it's really important that we give some recognition to our members of any particular department, in this case, transportation. So without further ado, let me introduce Ms. Linda Estrada. I know she's on board to say a few words regarding this, because I wouldn't do it justice other than I am proud, extremely proud of this young man, Mr. Federico Rios, as well as I'm sure the department and all the other employees from Donna ISD. So, Ms. Estrada.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to see everybody, even if it's through Zoom. As I am just flabbergasted and so in awe and so proud of Fred tonight. When I found out about it, I had to actually keep this quiet under wraps for about a month, and I couldn't say anything. So I was just like busting, I busting at the seams. But this is a very prestigious award for an educational support professional at the state level. Well, it starts at the local level, and so it started out that he was nominated for the ESP of the Year for the local for Donna TSA-NEA. And then from there, it went on to the region, to Region 6. Our area is Region 6. It's not confused with Region 1. It's the TSA structure that we have. And so he was the one that got selected for the region as well. And then from there, he went on to the state. And so he also got selected there. And now he is going to represent not only the local, the region, our district, Donna and Texas. He will be representing us at the national level at the 2022 National Educational Support Professionals Conference that will be taking place somewhere. We still don't know because of COVID. We don't know where it's going to be next year, but he will be representing the state of Texas. And so there's a possibility, and we're rooting for him that he gets it, because with it comes a $10,000 award that and a prestigious award with it. And then he'll also be asked to be a spokesperson to other states if they ask him to go and speak, you know, as a motivational speaker to other ESPs and to lift up the image. And so the reason that we do this is called the TSA Ronnie Ray ESP Advocate of the Year Award. And it recognizes the contributions of ESPs to their schools, their communities, and the profession. This past year has been difficult for everybody. But you know what? Fred never stopped working. He was always on the go, not only at work, but in the community. Representing, making sure that everybody's safety was his #1 concern, especially our students. He was always making sure that, you know, that we were asking for the PPEs and everything. So the award is presented annually to a member who demonstrates these astounding accomplishments and reflects the contributions of ESPs to public education. And like Mr. Castillo mentioned, Donna does an awesome job in recognizing all the ESPs and their efforts and their contributions to the district, to our students. We just had School Lunch Heroes last week. There you go. Y'all put it on the website, you know, recognizing them. You recognize all the ESPs, and not everybody does that. Not all districts do that. They do not recognize their efforts and their contributions to the education of our children. So I really do commend you that you all are continuing that, and that we have Fred here who is representing Donna. And so I don't know if Ms. Yolanda Gonzalez would like to say anything. She's our staff. She's now that I'm no longer part of the district, I'm not as involved. And so, but I know Ms. Yolanda Gonzalez has worked hand in hand with him. And so I don't know if she would like to say something on his behalf as well. So thank you so much for recognizing him tonight.
Just congratulations to Mr. Rios. We're very proud of him. We're looking forward to all the continued great work that we know he's capable of, and his energy is amazing. And so it's a good time, and it's a good way to also highlight Donna ISD. So we're very proud of him. Thank you, Mr. Rios, for all your work. Keep it up.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, discussion and possible action to approve Gallagher Benefit Service Incorporated Consulting Agreement.
Dr. Valdez and board members, as you know, we used Gallagher as a consultant for our health insurance, among other things, and their contract is about to expire end of this month. So we're bringing this item in front of our board to discuss whether they want us to maybe continue or renew for another year, or maybe go out for a bid, but we have to kind of make some decisions. We are in the middle of the committee meetings when it comes to the health insurance, because we have to get that taken care of within the next month or so. So they are still going to be engaged with us. We are open to either renew, or if you want to discuss and go out for a bids, we're open as administration to do that. The only thing you're asking is, if we decide to go out for a bid, we may have to keep them on a month-to-month basis. That will allow us pretty much to continue the work, as I said, with the committee, to ensure that we have different plans and we're ready to go to launch our benefit for next school year. That's what, we're open for discussion, I guess.
But I guess we can talk about it, right? I certainly understood what Trustee was conveying to us here, and I totally agree. I know that it didn't have, we had legal review the contract, and it wasn't for an automatic renewal. But nonetheless, I certainly am in favor of going out for RFPs and working something out with legal and them to go into 30 day notice until we get all the results back, because we certainly want to be competitive. And most importantly, what we really want to do is that we want to be certain that our employees get the best benefit at the end of the day, because obviously there has been some concerns. It's like anything else, when we save a little money in one area, someone else is going to have to make up for it. And so we want to be certain that our employees pay their share, but also something that's going to be very fair to them and get them the services that they so deserve. So I definitely agree on that. So if there's no other discussion, Ms. Valdez, I make a motion that we have our legal get with the particular Gallaghers and make them aware that we're going to go for RFPs regarding the medical insurance agents, and we'll take it from there.
Any other discussions? Any questions?
I do. I think we should just continue maintaining their services. I mean, we've done very well the last few years with them. I don't see our point of moving forward with a different process. Now, if Gallagher has not been doing his job these last few years, then obviously we'd be doing a disfavor, I think, and the opposite end of what Mr. Matthews just alluded to, because we have been doing well. Yes, we have been cognizant of our employees being sharing the cost, but if we didn't do that, then obviously we'd be in the hole. We wouldn't be in the predicament we are now to be able to give raises as we have done the last few years. And they've been very helpful in that respect. We were a little slow initially. I think we all knew that when we started with them, because we wanted some processes for them to present to us, which they were initially doing towards the end of our tenure with them. So again, I'd like to keep them as they are, and I'm doing the shift, especially in the midstream right now, as we are. That's my recommendation.
I guess maybe my thoughts, and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong. If we were to go out for RFQs, they could still submit, right? So they would still be able to, Gallagher would still be able to submit if they chose to. And we just always think, because it's a big part of our district budget expenditures, I think it's always good to test the market, see what's out there. Maybe it might be Gallagher that maybe still the best one that brings the best offer. But we don't know that until we test. So I kind of feel maybe going out for RFQs.
That's what the concern I have is when we brought them in, that they came in 2 years ago, if I'm correct. One of the things that they emphasized was that there was going to be an X amount of dollars that was a fee that they were going to charge, a flat fee, and that was it. And then later that year, we discovered that they were charging us in the script fees and pharmacy fees, and then it got renewed with that on there. So that was a big no-no at that time, because they told us they were just going to charge us the next amount of dollars. It still got renewed because administration pushed to get it renewed, but it should have never got it renewed because their contract specifically said that they were only going to charge the next amount of dollars, and they were still making an X amount of dollars in those hidden fees that they put down there. So I definitely support that we should go out and see what else is out there.
So just to be clear, Mr. Castillo, your motion is not to renew the agreement.
Right, staying with the wording that's in the agenda. My motion is to not approve that, but go out for RFPs on the 30/30.
We go month to month.
And the
But based on the
superintendent,
agenda item, we want to.
in the event it passes, the superintendent would do that within his purchasing power, just so everyone knows.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
If your motion passes, the superintendent, I'll work with the superintendent and he is authorized to do that because it would fall within his purchasing power.
Yes.
And we'll go month to
Right, and that takes care of it. That we're
To provide stability and services. Yeah, definitely. Colonel, how do you vote?
I vote against.
David? Mr. Valdez?
Vote in favor.
Ms. Watts? Mr. Reyna? I also vote in favor. Motion carries. Moving on down to discussion and possible action to modify policy BE, local board members. I think, David, you put that one. Do you want to discuss? Yes, by the previous item? Okay.
Let me just say that best practices recommend 7 days to add an agenda item prior to the board meeting. I recommend the local policy stay as is. The downside of moving to 3 days is less time to prepare for a board meeting. And that is my recommendation.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Romero. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Should we state that? Because I've got.
Yeah, you want to restate that, Ms. Romero?
We're muted, ma'am.
You were muted, Ms. Romero, so if you want to just restate.
What I'm saying is that best practice recommends 7 days. And I would recommend that we keep the current policy, which has 6 days, because that would help you prepare better for board meetings for the staff, whenever an agenda item is on hold. And best practices recommend 7 days at least.
And I understand your concern, Mr. Meadows. My concern is that since we put this policy in place, not even our administrators can put in the documentation in a timely manner. So if we're gonna enforce this and we're gonna follow it, everybody needs to follow it. So that's one of my biggest concerns. And it's not happening right now. We're getting information, documentation a day before, sometimes 3 days before, when it's supposed to be 7 days. You might receive it, but we're not.
I get it at the same time.
Well, I'm just clarifying it with you, so you know, because that's one of the concerns. That's why this is being brought up. And then they'll push things in 2 or 3 days before, and that's when things change. So that's out of our control, because we're supposed to, as board members, we have to wait 7 days. We submit documentation. I submitted an item last month, but it didn't make it on time, so I had to wait a whole month for it to come back in. But yet there's other information that they submit, and it's 3 or 4 days before.
And are you talking about staff or board members?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
And who's they? Are you
Administration all at the last. And that's what it means. We're not able to do it before, because we're 7 days back, but they still throw things in there. And that's why, that's what I'm alluding to here. That's our issue here. So we'll see some changes. You might get that draft, but then you pick up the packet and then you know exactly what's happening until those 2 or 3 days, and then things pop out, and it's a little, and then when there's the backup will sometimes do it. We should have it before, correct? To follow up protocol, Dr. Valdez will make sure that if she has to contact us, she'll contact us, but obviously we want to have people. At the same time, not all of us have the opportunity
community to answer the phone. Emails that so we can review it for a timely manner. So regardless, she's the board president, but we're not all in the loop. We're all board members, so we all should be in the loop.
I don't see how moving it to 3 days instead of your concerns.
Well, it's just the documentation. What happens is they submit, they'll submit, we want something on the agenda, when we follow the 7 days, like we have a policy. But then, if administration wants to show up and then we put it in, they're not following the 7 days.
If I may add something, I think Mr. De Los Rios, I think it was a recommendation from the conservator, wasn't a directive. That's, and then,
She has the idea that those are the
Yeah.
issues that we concerned with having in the past.
yes, sir. And I can tell you, like, if administration submitted like within the,
At the last minute, heavy agenda item.
We're very, I mean, the little items you'll add is.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's happening. And I mean, and I like to look at evidence, like look at data. So let me just share my thoughts on this one. It can be a little bit confusing sometimes because we do get the agenda, we do get a lot of backup, but it's not a 100% complete packet. So sometimes like a couple of days before we'll get it, it'll trickle in. So that can be a little bit confusing. So I don't know. I mean, maybe Azaiz, I'm asking you, maybe we keep the current 7 days or 6 days that we have with the understanding that if a department doesn't turn in everything, then they're gonna have to wait till the next month.
yeah, yes, and it
to
happens
make-
some.
So that we get a complete package.
Yes, and and I'm fine with that, Dr. Valdez. I think what happens sometimes, and I can be very honest with you. I know Mr. De Los Rios is talking about it. What happens sometimes? Let's say we go out for a bid. Let's say let's say this going out for proposals. We know it's coming, but because we're determined how many days we have to put it posted, and we have to do it. Sometimes we may not get you the backup like the 10 days prior, because we're aiming for 10 days. We send it. Remember the Friday, not the Friday before. The Friday where we're gonna post, right? So it's 10 days actually before, but sometimes again, we are running against the time because those proposals, when we go out for bids in particular, it may require a couple more days. So we send it that week prior. It happens sometimes, and we're gonna avoid it, and we will avoid it as much as we can. But it's not like something like we want to do, sir, or something like we try to avoid it at any cost.
Circumstances.
And usually it has to do with operation that we cannot wait sometimes for another month. That's but we usually try to put it on the agenda, before 10 days prior. Yes, sir.
Mr. Velez and Mr. Assis and trustees here. I hear what Mr. Mills is saying, best practice and so forth, but from my point of view, I'm looking at, we have 12 months in a year. So theoretically, it's 12 regular board meetings. That's what we should have. I really don't like to see special board meetings. That's why they call special board meetings. And so those 4 days, instead of 7 days, bringing it down to 3, like legal has, we can do. Those 4 days can make a big difference for examples, just like the one that Mr. Assis just mentioned right now. Things that are out of our control and administration's control, but the bid or the paperwork may be coming in on day number 6 or day number 5, and it's too late for us. But if they come in within those 3 days prior to Friday, 5:30, then we're good. That's where I'm coming from. It's not anything that's going to be legal, obviously, no. And it gives us, as far as administration, they still need to be cracking the whip on them and getting everything in there that needs to be done regardless. And we don't want to get these little draft papers, because that's when Ms. Valdez sits with the superintendent and goes over some of those things, gets a little briefing. And then by then, I would say the Friday by noon, everything should be final, and then your agenda is posted at 5 o'clock. But everything behind the scenes we've done, so we can try to include anything and everything that we can, squeeze it into that regular board meeting and try to avoid those special board meetings. That's where I'm coming from.
The only, and I'm trying to listen to both sides, but I think there could be a setback to going to the 3 days, because if we wait to get them until 3 days before, that means that the board is gonna have to really revise the agenda. And that only gives you 3 days to ask any questions to the superintendent that you may have. Email him questions, and then he has to respond back to the entire board. And I'm not sure if that's time enough time for them to be able to do
Well,
that.
by using that same example, we have an exact same thing.
You know when your board meetings are gonna happen, that everything should be planned accordingly.
Right.
I mean, other than possibly spring break, and probably moved, December's is probably moved, but other than that, all of them are pretty much set. The same day Tuesday of the month.
Right, no, that's correct, that's correct. All of,
And staff should be prepared and know that.
right.
Anybody should
Right.
know.
And so the same argument goes both to both points here, the 7-day or the 3-day, because you still have to be ready. And again, my biggest point here is that in those 4 days, we're able to squeeze in anything else that a campus may wanted to bring in, that a department we want to bring in, that for whatever reason they didn't need it before, and it comes up on within that 4-day frame that we don't have, we're able to get in. Because regardless, we have to be ready, whether 7 days or 3 days. That goes without saying. That goes without saying. As far as board members having to review, we still have the same amount of days, except we have less time from the cutoff point to the board meeting. And this time, it's going to be the same, but you're going to be able to have 4 days for others to submit, because we're really not the ones that do the bulk submitting. The bulk submitting is the day-to-day operations of the school district, specifically from the campuses and the needs that they have for their staff and their kids.
Yeah, the only, I guess, reservation that I have is if we go with the 3 days and the board has questions on items, you're gonna have to forward those questions to the superintendent. And does that give him and his people enough time to respond before the board meeting? Because we don't wanna, I guess maybe we're in the practice of containing as many things as we can on the consent agenda. We don't want to be putting items out because the board did not have, or they have questions.
What is the idea you to emphasize that the staff are doing that's the problem that we have, because Chris Terrio sent us so again, and then everything attached to it, and we'll get 1,000 pages, but then we're missing.
No, so we're gonna continue sending early, right? Like this board agenda was sent to you, I think, again, 10 days of Friday before. I don't think we made any adjustment to it since then. This was complete. I mean, I think maybe under some circumstances, maybe have that flexibility. I don't know if it's where we can say it, but we're going to continue send it to our board members 10 days prior, because I believe also, like Dr. Valdez is saying, it's the best practice to give you enough time to review. You guys have a lot on your plate. So I'm talking about administration. I'm not talking about the policy itself. I'm talking about the administration will always continue sending that to you ahead of time. But 6 days, that would be like what, Monday? That will be the Monday or
Policy
Tuesday?
6 days, right? I think right now.
So that will be the Tuesday, right? That will be the Tuesday before the board meeting, right? That's
what
no,
about-
Wednesday.
How do y'all feel if we stick with the 6 day with the understanding that we get all the backup by that 6 day? If anything is not submitted, then that item needs to be wait until the next month.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make my last point here. It has, in my opinion, for my interest in this, has nothing to do with bringing in the item. So what I'm looking at, now it's 3 days. I thought it was 7. Now it's 3 days because it's 6 days. 6 days right now as we speak, and we're looking at trying to get it back to the 3. I'm looking at those 3 golden days that someone can still put in because of a good reason. You're still going to be doing everything you're doing, whether we're doing 6 days now or 3 days. If we maintain as it is, nothing is going to change other than we do not have those 3 days in the event that some campus or department really needs something. Not because they didn't want it, they weren't planning ahead, because something just came up and they could put it in within those 3 days to get approval or not approval for this meeting. That's where I'm coming from. 6 or 3, that's the big difference. Is are we really giving those 3 days to our departments and to our campuses? The answer is no.
I see your point, and if everything was to work routinely, then yes, that would be a perfect world. But there may be items that would be more disputable. Maybe that they're gonna say, well, wait a minute, we didn't have enough time, or they slipped this in and we didn't know about it, and I just don't want to get into that situation.
Yeah.
If you do it for one, then do it for everyone.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that what you're doing now, you're locked in 6 days regardless. You're locked in.
I can say something. I think we're really talking about the difference of 2 days, because we've been posting on Fridays. Fridays is 4 days prior to the board meeting. We've been posting regularly at Fridays, right? So 6 days is actually Wednesday. So we're not talking about, is it Wednesday, the last time to put this items, or is it a
I don't know,
Friday?
but the point here is just, I'm looking to.
That's what it
advocate
is,
for
2
the-
days.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I mean, we're going in circles because I think originally when we started, and we came on board, you know, talking about Mr. guys and ladies, we had it was 7 days. That's what we had before, 7 days. Then we said, okay, how many more days do we need? And we voted back then, so we need to go ahead and do it in 10 days because we need a little bit more ample time to be able to respond and ask questions so that, you know, the president and obviously the superintendent can get back to us with their staff, giving them enough time to do their homework and research, whatever that was, to get back whatever info that we were requesting. So we went from 7 days to 10 days. The 3 days that we're alluding to are the 3 days that we're still allowing superintendent and staff to be able to put in items. It was last minute emergency. As you recall, Ms. Romero's came in one time, I believe, and said, wow, we put something in on those days prior and that we shouldn't have. I think she did it twice when she approached us on that matter, right? So if we're going to what Mr. Garcia was suggesting, that we're going back to the same thing that we got a little bit, I guess, hammered, if you will, for lack of better words. But we were challenged because of that. And I think one of the items that you submitted, then I think it's also the one items that Ms. Watt has submitted during that time. So it goes back to the 3, and the reason I'm going to those 3 days is, all right, if that's a deadline, it really would be 4 days. So I think the flexibility goes to the superintendent, and our only concern is for us to get the data in a certain time frame. That is it. I mean, I'm not sure 7 days, 6 days will make a difference because they still gonna have to produce regardless whether we have 3 days, 4 days, 6 days, 7 days, or 10 days. I think we gave that opportunity for them to allow us an opportunity to ask those questions. I think that's what it was. That's why we went to 10 days. I mean, to me, it makes no difference. I think we still have the fluidity to the superintendent to be able to do what he does. And as long as we get the data beforehand, to me, it doesn't make no difference.
Okay, I think enough discussion. We need to make a decision on that one. So is there?
Ma'am, why does the superintendent just give us an email or something on any changes that come in at the last moment? You know, can he do that or not?
Yeah, they send it to us. If there's a change,
it's an update,
they email it to everybody already.
Yeah, we do that.
During what time though? During what time period? When you send out everything else? In other words, but you send it to us is already the final.
No, we send you on Friday, 10 days prior, we send you the first draft, right? And
Okay, so
then,
nothing happens after that Friday. That's it.
like, it depends. So this board meeting, we didn't change anything, right? This is what it was given and but the 10 days the 6 days is really Wednesday. It's really Wednesday. So again, we are flexible. I want you to know we can do 3 days or 6 days. Yeah. And
and we're going to continue doing it unless this issue gets brought up today, like we're doing. And everyone's weighing in of the concerns we have. Because you send us an agenda 10 days in advance, great, and then 3 days before, we can have things that we didn't know. When there's there says, well, you don't have enough time to read it. I didn't have that 34-page document to read in those 3 days. That's all I'm trying to get. So if we can agree, or if you can agree that your staff can submit everything in a timely manner, we'll move on to the next one.
Mr. Los Rios, we're gonna work whether with 3 days or 6 days. I mean, we're gonna do it. And I appreciate you saying giving us the flexibility, but it's gonna be the decision, obviously. At the end of the day, you know, our board members are to decide. So, but we're gonna be flexible no matter what, one way or another. We'll be fine with 3 days. Trust me. We'll be fine with 6. It's our board members' decision.
I just think the 6 day works better with the understanding that if you don't meet the deadline, then I'm sorry, it's not on the agenda. It will have to wait for the next month. I think once we put that in place, then I think we'll be able to, I mean, it's
Yes.
an accountability that there's, I mean, we've got to meet the needs of the board members. They need to have all their documents in front to review. And we need to get it 6 days in advance and nothing filtering. Yeah, everything. Yeah, in other words, when they give it to you 6 days in advance, all the backup, everything's gonna be there. Nothing to change.
That's it. If not, it won't be on the agenda. Yeah, that's what.
That what is being conveyed back and forth, it wasn't really my intent, but again, I'm just one of 7. So my thing is that I'm really thinking of the district in terms of department, campuses, and students that, you know, it may be unforeseen to them, but once the 6 days up, they're locked in, no matter what. They're locked in. So either a special board meeting or wait till the next month. So, I mean, that's where I'm coming from. I don't think none of y'all have mentioned that. You're just going 6 days forward. That's the real reason why I would like to see that, because I know administration has to do it regardless whether it's 6 or 3, but it's the intent of what if something comes in and they really need it, but oh, the 6 days already surpassed. We got to wait till the next board meeting or have a special board meeting. That's where I'm coming from. Okay. The work's going to have to be done regardless. That's it.
And thank you for that.
So we need to decide action or no action on this item. No action? Okay, no action. Moving on to item number 7, discussion and possible action to modify policy CNB, local transportation management district vehicles. Mr. You want to address that one?
He said, the district level has been here for about 4 years.
2 years.
The whole district has it, but yet we have certain vehicles that don't have logos, don't have numbers on it. And it's brought it to my attention that, there's a driving these vehicles around, whether it's maintenance, transportation, food service, police, whatever it is, they need to have a district marking on there with a number, so we can know, verify who the vehicle belongs to. Obviously, if they're district vehicles, they're insured by the county, so we can't count it as well.
I can hear, I could hear, but yeah, he's muted. Yeah, he was muted. Oh yeah, I can hear you. Not through the mic. I can hear you through over here.
Yes, sir.
So on this item, I just asked Super, we can put this item on the agenda. I know that we have several district vehicles that don't have any district markings or any numbers on them. Community members have brought it up to me, to my attention, that a lot of these vehicles are on the road, and you know, I'm not saying they're driving recklessly, but they're a district employee driving it and it belongs to the district. Now, the superintendent told us earlier that 2 or 3 years ago when we got the district logo, that everything in the district has our new logo, but some of these vehicles don't. And that's something that I would like to see in all our vehicles, whether it's transportation, maintenance, food service, police, whatever. If the vehicle belongs to Donna ISD, it needs to have a district marking with ID number as well.
Are we still in discussion?
Yeah.
Mr. Assis, is there any particular reason that some vehicles in the district don't have logos? Is there rationale to it?
I'm only aware, and I could be wrong. I mean, I'll go back and have to check the inventory, but I'm aware of only like a couple of our police department vehicles don't have a visible marking. I'm not aware of any other vehicles that not have that marking. And to answer your question, I guess sometimes our police, you know, they just want to, you know, they have some unmarked vehicle. I guess that's part of like what police departments sometimes do have. That's my only explanation. But if our board wants to move and to have in every vehicle marked, including all our police department, then obviously we will do it.
So I guess my question is, what the intent? I mean, other than putting markings on vehicles. I mean, we could have done this without having to bring in the board. It would just ask the superintendent to do that. I mean, we don't have to talk about that here.
No, we did.
It's smooth, yeah.
Yeah, we did that a couple of months ago and it didn't get resolved. That's why the item was put on the agenda.
If David put it as a policy, right? Policy. So,
Dr. Valdez, if I may say, this is Anthony. So I had a brief conversation with Chief Walden about this topic earlier today, and he did mention several safety-related reasons. He also mentioned sometimes if we have students who happen to run off campus for various reasons, that it helps to have a vehicle that's unmarked in the the identification of those children. It's very apparent if they're having to locate a child who's left because of a reason. If the vehicle is marked, obviously, as soon as they try to locate the student, it obviously identifies the district vehicle. So he mentioned that, and then a few other safety type related items.
Mr. Sorella, can you run that one more time? That having a logo has an adverse effect?
We briefly spoke about it, and I cannot do the topic the justice that Chief Walden can do, but he mentioned that it does, as Dr. Aziz was saying, some police departments do have these unmarked vehicles, maybe for the purpose of a student who may leave the campus. If we have a student, maybe one of the specialized units, for example, leaves the campus and the student has to be sought out, the vehicle serves that purpose of being able to not obviously make it very apparent that it's a district-related vehicle or police department vehicle, and it assists in identifying those children and bringing them back to the campus in safety. So he did mention that particular point. He also mentioned there's some limitations on, for example, security officers not being able to utilize vehicles that are marked as police vehicles. And so there are limitations on the kind of vehicles that security officers can utilize versus police officers.
Well, I was a little, I thought that's what you had mentioned, but it's kind of a little bizarre to hear that rationale. But nonetheless, I concur with what was being said about all vehicles. I think all vehicles, regardless, need to have a logo. And if those are particular issues, police officer versus security, then come up with a logo that is pertinent for security and the PD. But I've always have to mention this, that we are a district with multiple campuses, 13 plus, almost 14,000 students. And we are very fortunate to have a police department within our district. But once again, it is for our students. It's for public school. It is for employees. It is not a city police department. It's not troopers or county. And so we cannot ever forget that in that case, I would want to see that logo on there so that people will know, look, there's a police officer, ISD, and trying to help students, what have you, because if that was the scenario, then we're going to get help from everybody else, city, county, and et cetera, so I kind of don't see that as a good logic to not have it. But again, we're fortunate to have PDs because some school districts have already done away with them and they contract their city. All we're asking here is to have the logos everywhere, because we do want to know and let our employees and our community members, students, and parents that they belong to Donna ISD, because they do.
And I just want to add, Mr. Castillo, we don't have, as I said, if our board wants us to have a logo in every car, we will do it. This is not a practice that started here, the unmarked cars. This has been like this for years. The unmarked cars in the police department, this is not something, again, that happened last year or 2 years ago. Again, we had unmarked cars for years, but if our board, this board, right, want us to change that and make sure every car is marked, as I said, we will do that. That's not a problem.
So let's make the motion to approve this item.
Before I do a second, I just want to go on record that this is for all vehicles. I know the topic was discussion of PD, but this is for all departments, regardless of where, as long as they are under Donna ISD.
Yes, sir.
It's like that. Okay. I second.
Are we gonna make this a policy?
Yeah.
No, it is?
Yes.
I approve.
Mr. Watts? Mr. Vega?
4-3, 4-2-1. 4-2-1, one abstain.
Motion passed. Moving on now to consent agenda. Do you think you wanted to?
Yeah, the only thing we wanna, if with your permission, or approval, Dr. Valdez, we had an item under Wi-Fi or us for the payment, right? We received, we had the third party company come and did some analysis. So they just provided us with the report. And so there were a few items, that need to be addressed, nothing major, but there are items that need to be addressed. So we want to make sure that before we approve it, then we work with the company to make sure, again, these items have been addressed before we feel strongly about bringing this payment forward to our board members for approval.
So this, is that the understanding that that item will be removed?
We will remove it out of consent, yes. And
There was no action on that item. Is that what you're saying?
No, actually, I think what we were gonna do, Dr. Tracy, if I recall correctly, we were gonna leave it as is, but the payment will not be issued until there's some pending, things that were on the contract that have not been completed, and he hasn't assessed.
Yeah.
Once that's been completed, then he will be authorized to release payment.
Yes.
Approve it pending those things, and then when we're done, you'll.
I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I would feel much more comfortable to wait till next board meeting when it's completely total done. I mean, we just had a concern a while ago.
Yeah, we don't have administration doesn't have any problem. Table it to the next board meeting. We want to make sure again that we have an opportunity just to discuss it with you, but we can table. Administration will move forward to table this item. Not a problem. Move from consent and table it.
Don't want to sound like the bad person here, but remember the completion date was going to be November 7th, and it didn't really come into January 7th. So
yes, and yes, sir. And we will deduct all that the fees also that due to the tardy or their delay with their construction. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so then, do I have a motion to approve consent agenda without that item? The item on,
Item number 9.
item under business and finance number 9, without that.
Questions on this? On number 7 there, non-operable means they don't work, right? But I know when we take buses to the auction, we drive them over there. So maybe the wording needs to be changed. I mean, there's something that occurs all the time.
I think yes. Overall, like baby, yes.
Non-operable, they used to have to use a record to take them over there.
Right. Yeah.
A record con la reca.
I mean,
but you used to drive the buses.
But if you drive it, Mr. Valdez, that's a very good point.
I mean, I work there, so I know. Also on number 5, what exterior lighting are we talking about on that one? All the lighting, or
which one again?
Number 5, the school exterior lighting. Is that the lights on the building itself or the lights?
And then the parking lot, I think that's
the parking lot light.
Yes.
That includes gymnasium.
And the one on the gymnasium, right? They're facing outside. Yes.
But that was a concern over there. That was
Yeah.
a big
Yes.
concern.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
why we're moving forward on it, sir.
Clarification. That's all I wanted. All right.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Valdez, is noted by you to remove the number 9.
Yes, sir.
Are we tabling it, you're saying? Are we tabling it?
Yes.
So your recommendation to table this at the next month, so we can allow 3 months to go by without paying this company?
Yes.
3 months without paying them? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
The next board meeting. Or special board meeting if we have a special board meeting.
Be sure that we're doing the right thing for this company, because that's 3 months of money is obviously we spent. What was the issue behind that? Next month?
We did an assessment. We brought in a third party company to make an assessment and check that everything is functioning well. There were a few items that were identified. Again, nothing major, Mr. Perez, but we want to make sure that we have the opportunity, given the opportunity to fix it. We share that with them. And once they do that, then obviously we will issue the payment, but we have to bring it to you so we can approve it.
I have a challenge with that because, again, I'm cautioning the board on what we do because we're talking about 3 months payment from a Saturday to time. If this contract has met, whether, and because I see this obviously what I do, but yeah, contract is met, if there's items that were not in the contract previously, and we added to that contract, then we are also responsible agents to not have added certain requirements that he may have agreed to without taking the contract. So again, I would caution we go about this and not having payment moving forward. So it doesn't matter, it's 2 weeks, 1 week, how long would it take you? A whole month to figure out those, whatever things are. Just send a couple of items, doesn't take as long. Oh, I had to mute this whole time. Sorry.
Yes, I can hear you now, sir.
So it goes back to the question, you know, if we're gonna table this, it's gonna be another month, so it'll be 3 months before we're holding monies from this company when they've already, if they met the requirements, we're saying they've got a couple of eaches, and if it's not contractual, then I will caution the board. Because if it is contractual, then those items that we're saying that they need to in place, make sure we understand that as a board. And so I think we owe it to all of us to understand that piece, to make sure that we are voting correctly before we go another month without paying this company. That's all I'm asking.
All right, I think that was made clear. In fact, the third party was brought in. We, the district, had to bring a third party to do an evaluation, and they have concluded that still not complete. So that's why I support this.
It's
Oh, yeah.
But the items were
That's-
not major items,
no,
correct?
No,
Dr.
no,
Izzi?
major.
It wasn't very minor items. It wasn't anything major that was.
No, they're not major items based on the contract, but the contract also states that we have to verify that everything is up to standard, or up to whatever we put there for our the expectation, I guess. So that's what we're doing. And I think that's what you talked about, Dr. Valdez, is if because this could be fixed within a week or so. So but if we have to wait to the next board meeting now, that right? So that's pretty much what we're gonna end up doing.
That's what I'm saying.
And I
If
think
it's a
in
couple of
order-
things that, in order for us to do, so why wait until a month when the company can be paid within 2 weeks? I just don't understand that process.
That's why I was.
So we gotta make sure that we don't set precedents in the future for any company. Because then if we go, again, getting this is unique, obviously, the Wi-Fi for us is unique to the district. We haven't done this before. And yes, we had a backup for some of the family inspectors. I have no problem with that. I think we're doing the due diligence, but with in mind that we're doing also the right thing for the vendor, not just to wait for another month after we've already told him, and we put it, somebody put it on here for a reason, right? For us to look at it, and now we're telling the public, we're gonna wait another month because we have 2 glitches, whatever that is, it can be fixed within 2 weeks. So I don't see for us waiting that time, we should give the flexibility to the superintendent to allow him to do that. That's what he does. I mean, that's his job.
Yeah,
right?
and I
Not
kind
ours.
of concur with you, Colonel, because according to the superintendent, the assessment, they're very minor. It's not anything major. It's very minor. That's why I thought it could stay there. And if we approve it under consent agenda pending, that Dr. Asayis will be responsible for making sure that those items are taken care of. And once they're taken care of, then he can release payment. That way it's not delayed. That's what my thoughts were.
But I think at this point in time, well, regardless of,
I mean, we could,
Why would we wait till the timing now? Why are we doing right now? So yes, we want the president bring in the future item, we're doing it right now. Why would we continue?
trustees, I think we have an item on,
I think you had made a motion, right?
I made the motion.
And who made seconded? Colonel, how do you vote?
Okay.
Mr. Valdez? Okay, let's start again. Who made the motion? Mr. Castillo, repeat your motion.
based on it and the discussion that we had, that there's some items pending and it may be a week or 2 weeks, what have you. The motion was made that payment be withheld or that item be removed completely, tabled, removed, whatever you want to refer to. And we'll wait till next month's board meeting to take care of that item. Everything else approved. That was the motion.
Okay, and second by David. Colonel, how do you vote?
Against.
Against? Mr. Valdez, how do you vote?
I vote in favor.
In favor? Okay, Mrs. Watts? Mr. Reina? In favor? And I vote against, motion carries. Okay, so now we're looking at the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda as presented?
That was it. That was what we approved.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I thought we were talking about that particular item. Okay, excuse me. All right, moving on down to the conservator monthly report, Mrs. Romero.
Good evening, members of the board, superintendent, trustees. I got the March report under the governance. I just wanted to comment that we did a lot of vaccinations during the month of March, and that took care of most of your district staff. Do a facility study that the board members are going to be reviewing to prioritize and possibly addressing now future bond elections. That's under the governance, and then under
in the human resources, under the accreditation visit, Human Resources Department continues to update the personnel files, job descriptions, staff certificates, and contracts. And that is an ongoing job that they've got there. And now with the contracts that are happening, that are being approved, that will just continue from that standpoint. Now, he is also working on his online application software. Now, that had been scheduled to be processed sometime in May, but now they're looking at into June to bid that out. So hopefully it'll come to you for approval in June. On the financial, what you've got there is that after the facility study was done, the district also looked at their fund balance amount that they had, and they looked at the areas that they could address within their fund balance. And you had a report today on the turf, which is one of them, and some HVAC that they're doing and so forth. So a lot of the regular maintenance is being addressed through the business, through your general fund right now, and leaving the major projects for the possible bond issue that you might be all looking into the future. In the academic side, you have that the instructional department was doing the STAR instructional academies to better prepare the students for the STAR testing. So that's been happening there pretty much, and it's happening all the way through May the 14th, because then the STAR testing has been going on also at the same time. And I already mentioned that Human Resources will be bidding out the online application for in June. Are there any questions?
Okay. No questions, then we're going to go ahead and move into executive. The time is 7:38, and we will now be moving into executive session as authorized by Texas Government Code sections 551, 071, 072, 073, 074, 075, 76, 082, 083, and 084.
I'm getting, okay. All right.
The time is 9:18 and we are back in open session to take possible action on matters discussed in executive session. Item 8, discussion and possible action to approve superintendent's recommendation of personnel, approval of recommendation for professionals to include hiring and terminating recommendations. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, a motion by Mr. De Los Rios. Do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Watts. Mr. Castillo,
In favor?
Mr. Colonel,
In favor.
Mr. Valdez, Mr. Reina. I also vote in favor. Motion carries. Second item, discussion and possible action to approve proposed non-renewal of Chapter 21 contract of Eddie Ruiz, teacher. Do I have a motion?
Dr. Valdez, actually,
Oh,
I want to make, sorry.
that's yours.
Sorry,
I'm
Dr.
sorry.
Valdez. No, you're fine. We make the recommendation to approve or non-renew of the Chapter 21 Provisional contract for 2021 for Mr. Eddie Ruiz.
Now do I have a motion? Okay, motion by
The
Mr. De Los
proposed.
Rios. Do I have a
Yes.
second?
A second.
Second by Colonel, Mr. Castillo,
In favor?
Mr. Valdez,
Favor.
Ms. Watts,
In favor?
Mr. Reina. I also vote in favor. Motion carries. Next item, discussion and possible action to approve to renew Chapter 21 probationary contracts for the 2021-22 school year. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. De Los Rios. Do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Watts. Mr. Castillo,
In favor?
Mr. Colonel,
In favor.
Mr. Valdez,
Favor.
Mr. Reina. I also vote in favor. Motion carries.
Or D, letter D.
Discussion and possible action to approve to renew Chapter 21 term contracts for the 2021-22 school year. Do I have a motion? I move by Mrs. Watts. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Reina. Mr. Castillo,
In favor?
Mr. Colonel,
In favor.
Mr. De Los Rios, Mr. Valdez.
Favor.
I also vote in favor. Motion carries. E, discussion and possible action to approve to renew non-Chapter 21 term contracts for the 2021-22 school year. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. De Los Rios. Do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Watts. Mr. Castillo,
In favor?
Mr. Colonel,
In favor.
Mr. Valdez,
Favor.
Mr. Reina. I also vote in favor. Motion carries. And on this next one, Tony, okay, do I have a motion, discussion and possible action of level 3 grievance of Diana Quintanilla as discussed in no.
I make the motion to deny the request of Diana Quintanilla.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by, who was it? Mr. Valdez, Mr. Castillo,
Favor?
Mr. De Los Rios? In favor, and Mr. Reina? Mrs. Watts?
Favor.
And I also voted in favor. Motion carries. G, discussion, Norma Torres is no action. G, discussion and possible action to approve pending or contemplated litigation, settlement matters, and or matters where the professional duty under state board requires private consultation with a school attorney. No action. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, second, Castillo,
In favor?
Mr. Valdez,
In favor.
Mr. Reina. I also vote in favor. Motion carries. Thank you. Good evening. Bye-bye.
Everybody, good evening, bye. Bye.
That's why I looked up, it's like, oh, slow down a little bit. What about me?